Alright, rockers, Turbo back with you here inside the Asylum. And I'm very happy to have with me right now by phone a member of one of the great metal bands. They've been around for many, many years. Their latest album, Human Era, is available wherever you buy your music. And they are going to be parts of LaconiaFest, happening in New Hampshire from Saturday, June 11th through Sunday, June 19th. You can see Trixter at LaconiaFest on June 16th, and right now by phone, PJ Farley of Trixter. How are you,
Howdy.
PJ?
Good, buddy. How are you doing, Turbo?
I'm doing good, man. Doing really good. I want to thank you for taking the time out to call in and talk to me a bit about how things are going with you guys and about LaconiaFest. And I kind of want to go back a little bit because I was a young kid when you guys were first coming up. Trixter really first.
That makes the two of us.
Okay. Bill, you guys first kind of got your name going in the late 90s and got crushed as you guys really made a name for yourselves. You know, the whole grunge scene kicked in, and now here you guys are in 2016 kicking ass again. And what did it mean for you guys that, you know, here it is so many years later and you're still kicking ass? Yeah, what is it that you guys do, or is it something about the scene or the music that you write that has allowed you to be around kicking ass today?
I don't know. I think it was the early '90s. I think you mean is what squashed us.
Yeah.
And then we kind of were forced into retirement for about 13 years, and you know, throughout those 13 years, there was still plenty of bands still playing. Warren, you know, Dokken and Rat, and everybody was still playing and still doing really good, like doing festivals and stuff. And we were never a part of that. We just decided to really just kind of go separate ways and just kind of do other things musically and shut it down for a little bit, you know. And finally, in 2008, we just decided to put it back together and see if it worked. And luckily it did. Everybody embraced us again, and then slowly but surely we started putting together some new material for New Audio Machine, which came out in 2012, I think. And then soon after that came out of nowhere, really, kind of Human Era. And it really just kind of happened. You know, as far as still kicking ass, I don't know. We pretty much wake up and kick ass. So I don't know, man. I think everyone's just being really cool and just happy to, you know, revisit the music that they grew up on, and that kicks ass in itself. So we're just glad to be a part of that.
Sure, man. I mean, getting up out of bed every day and waking up and realizing it's another great day to go out and kick some ass is a great way to live life. Mm-hmm. And now, what have you guys noticed now that, you know, you've had that time in between? You know, unfortunately, I mean, you guys should have been right up there all those years in between with Rat and Warren, still doing your thing, and not have been forced out by the grunge scene that went on. But do you see any major differences, you know, then compared to where we are now in the music scene? Because a lot of people have kind of started to say that the old vibe of the late 80s and early 90s has come back to rock and metal being one big community as opposed to being, you know, separated by genres. Is that kind of how you guys are seeing things now?
Yeah, you know, because being that it's such a smaller community than it ever has been, I think it definitely is just one kind of one kind of lump. I mean, we're in the the kind of retro hair band category, and so there's that. I mean, there's definitely separation between that and say some of the newer active rock bands. I mean, displayed at LaconiaFest. One day you got us and Brett, and the next day Seven Dust. All rock, but there's definitely a separate genre. Definitely, ticket buyers are definitely buying for their particular day, so to speak, or maybe both. I mean, I think nowadays probably a lot of people are, grew up on the bands that are playing on Thursday the 16th, but love the music on the bands that are playing the 17th, and so on. I mean, so it's just a great festival. It's of all genres.
Yeah, and so many of the festivals are doing it now. It kind of all started really with Oklahoma. When you really go back and look at it, they were the first to kind of say, you know what, there's rock and metal of every genre and every generation, and why do we need to separate it when odds are the new generation was inspired by guys like Trixter and Warren and Rat, and I'm sure, there are some of the bands that are big now that I'm sure you guys are looking at and maybe even listening to, because they're doing something that maybe wasn't available technology-wise for you guys to do back in the 90s.
Are you saying, is there anything that we've been doing now due to the development of all the technology?
Well, what I was saying is that, the festivals have kind of allowed everyone to kind of appreciate each other. I'm sure you have been on festivals and seen maybe some of the younger bands out there doing things that maybe you guys never thought of because it wasn't available back then.
I don't know. It's tough to say. I mean, we were always a really simple rock band, in the Van Halen kind of way of doing things. Guitar, bass, drums, lead singer, and no bells and whistles or anything like that. We were a pretty stripped down, simple rock band. I mean, we appreciate all the bands that have, they're running their whole show on, backing tracks and whatnot. And I'm not saying like as far as vocally or anything. I'm just saying, the music nowadays is so enhanced and so much production that most bands absolutely have to have some sort of backing tracks to, kind of let the music translate live. So much going on. It's almost impossible to recreate with just a couple of guys. So I mean, luckily for us, we keep it simple.
Well, sometimes that's the best way to go about it. I mean, I saw Asking Alexandria a couple of years ago with Korn at Roseland Ballroom. They're now gone. Roseland Ballroom. I can't believe that place is gone. And their tech crew had trouble, and there was they weren't able to use their tech side of their show, and they ended up doing a very bare bones, just the band type of show. And a lot of people were like, "Why did they use all that tech? They were great. They were a great band on their own."
Yeah. I mean, it's just it's funny. Like a band like In This Moment, I recently saw live because I really dig their music and stuff. But I saw them live, and they have a lot going on. There's a lot going on there, and there's like a lot of time in between songs and costume changes, and that it's like a Broadway show. But
wow,
they could probably strip that down, and great songs are great songs.
Right. I mean, I actually saw In This Moment before they became what they are now. They opened for Rob Zombie and Ozzy Osbourne back in, I think it was late 2008, with that Merry Mayhem Christmas tour, and
Right.
right, and they, I mean, it was just them. There was no stage show at the time
Yeah, they
for,
didn't. They
for
didn't have the
them,
money.
and they blew me away. I ran out. I bought the album right away. I've been a fan ever since, but they've definitely grown to an amazing level in really such a short time. And I guess it also speaks volumes to where we are in the world of rock and metal, that bands are still able to break through and make it to the big time.
Yeah, I mean the big time is, quote unquote, it's not what it used to be. It's
Mm-hmm.
all relative. But at this point, if you can go out there, put on the show you want to put on, and pay your bills and live and make a living doing it, you're successful. It doesn't have to be Ferraris and mansions and being a millionaire. Nowadays, if any musician, I guarantee any musician, if they could just go out, do what they love, do it the best way they want to, and be able to function financially, that's success now. That's the big time.
You're 100% right. I mean, what it comes down to now, at the end of the day, is the real rock stars now are the ones that are, as you said, able to go out there and make a living and live comfortably, not in excess, but live comfortably off of doing what they love doing, and that is making great music. Those are
Hmm.
definitely the real rock stars of today, and I know, I mean, how you guys are, Trixter is doing that, and you're doing it, because I want to make sure we touch on your recently released solo album,
Yeah.
Boutique Sound Frames, which came out on May 19th. What made it the right time for you to put out a solo album?
I guess really kind of, I just, in my head, had it finished. I mean, all these years I've had these songs compiled, and I had a couple in my head that I thought I could record after we did Human Era, and really just kind of tie it in and finally just put it out. Because there was a time where when I started recording these songs, the music business was just in that time where there was still the major labels, and it was just almost impossible to get a record deal, especially for someone like me, and coming from my genre and stuff. It was a dead issue, closed door. So it wasn't even worth trying. And then I was in band Ra for 10, 12 years, really up until 2 years ago when we kind of put it back to bed. But and that kept me busy, and I did all sorts of touring and whatnot, and it really kind of got put on the back burner. And nowadays, it's kind of like you can just put it on iTunes and sell it. There's avenues, social media, that you can get it out there. Once put it in the cloud, and the whole world can find it. In the last 15 years or so, there wasn't really. I mean, until YouTube came up and iTunes got really popular. It was like the thought of trying to get a record deal to put the record out was nauseating to me, and it's not at all why I wrote the songs and recorded them. I did it just to do it and get them out, and because of the songs I wrote, that's it. They weren't written to put on a record and try to get the big record deal on the major label and everything. So I wasn't concerned about it, and I wasn't going to do the fight because I didn't want to hear any input from labels. And so I really just did it to, satisfy myself. And now that it's easier to get the music out there, ironically, you don't see any money from it, but I just want people to hear it at the end of the day. If they do buy it, hallelujah, because, that's what we do. That's what I do for a living. So, but I just want people to hear it.
Yeah, we kind of live in a day and age musically where it's kind of a double-edged sword. I've been talking to a lot of people within the industry recently, and we're at a very unique turning point in the fight between everyone's streaming and getting their proper due from streaming versus buying everything.
Yeah, well, there's a specialness that's been stripped away from buying even a CD. It's not a thing so much anymore. I'm old school, obviously, and it was special to go, all right, hey, the new Motley Crue record's coming out May 20th. I'm going to the store to buy it. I'm going to open it. I'm going to take the insert out and read it and look at the pictures and read the credits and the lyrics, and it's something more. It's connecting the listener to the band to be able to hold something. And now that that's really not necessary, I think that's why music is really kind of so disposable and so such a high burn factor. You put it, you pull it up on YouTube, you listen to it, like, cool, that's it. I'll listen to it maybe again some other time. Or there's really no commitment. There's no commitment to the music anymore, in the sense that when you buy something, you're taking your time, you're getting in your car, you're driving to the store, you're picking out a CD you want, you're spending your hard-earned money on it, taking it home and listen. You kind of cherish it a little bit more. Even if you buy it on iTunes, you're sitting there, you could be on the toilet and you go, I want to get a new record. You buy it, it's on your phone. It's almost like it never even happened. You're hitting buttons, and then all of a sudden you got a new record.
Yeah, you're right. I have said it over and over again. I'm due to my disability, getting out to buy albums at a record store. I would always go with a list. And I have a list of what came out, and I look for those first, and then I look for stuff I needed to fill my catalog with. And now people look at me and go, "Oh, you must love streaming and digital downloads because you're disabled, so it's easier for you." But I look at them and I go, "It may be easier, but it's not right." There's something about owning the copy of it physically, or granted, downloading a lot of times is faster. I purchased your solo album off of iTunes because it was just faster to get it, to check it out before you and I talked today, and I wanted to make sure.
And that's the beauty of it, for sure. Something like that. That's useful. But if we weren't setting up this, this conversation, and that it wasn't kind of time sensitive, if you didn't have to rush right out, you'd get there and do it. But it's something like that it's obviously very helpful and useful, and I think it makes it a little bit easier, and it might even help the industry in the sense that yes, it does disconnect the listener from the artist and the band a little bit because there's nothing to hold and everything, but it also makes it easier for people to buy. So maybe more people will be inclined to buy it because it's so easy, and you're just hitting buttons and then boom, it's there. So there's two sides to that, like you said, double-edged sword. It's like, yes, you're just hitting buttons and you get a new record. And that makes it easier for people to buy music. So
right,
plus.
Right. So the outlets are out there for everyone to buy music. It's just a matter of doing it. And let's just face it, you got to make that commitment. After all, you guys make the commitment to get out there and record Human Error, and you made the commitment to put together your solo album, and it's a lot of time and work, and I think people forget that. And for you, was it hard in putting the solo album together to say, well, what you're writing was going to be for the solo album, or what you're writing might be for Trixter? Is it? Do you sit down with a certain mindset, or is it
not at all.
The way it comes to you? You start writing it and it feels one way or the other.
It does. It's kind of exactly how it feels. I mean, whenever when I sit down and pick up a guitar, and it starts with me. I'm just playing, noodling around, and I come up with something happens where I have a progression, and then I get a melody in my head and start making sounds, and lyrics come out, and then it just kind of takes itself, finishes itself really, and it's when I'm writing for something, you have to guide, in certain directions. And these songs weren't. I had no guidelines. I just let them go, regardless of what genre they sounded like, what the lyrical content was. And so when I finished writing every song on this record, I knew that they were something that I had to kind of save and eventually present myself.
Right, and the key thing that I want everyone to know also about the album is it's very much you. It's very much PJ Farley. If you think the solo album is just Trixter version 2, guys, do yourself a favor, pick up Boutique Sound Frames, because it's just a pure hard rock album, and I gotta credit you, PJ, for doing that, because often we get solo albums from band members, and it's kind of like, well, it's the same thing I already hear from the band.
Yeah, it's just kind of an offshoot. Yeah, it could be, like you said, it could have been just Trixter, titled Trixter or something. But
right,
yeah, I see your point there. Yeah, I mean, it's I would rather hear something different, and that's the point of doing a solo record, is to offer something, another side of a band member, and let you get to know a band member of maybe one of your favorite bands.
Well, it's definitely the best way to do it. PJ Farley of Trixter here inside the ASYLUM. Coming up, they're going to be at LaconiaFest in New Hampshire on June 16th. And I'm looking at your schedule. You guys have so much going on. For those of you in the New York, New Jersey area, they'll also be part of the State Meadowlands State Fair, New Jersey State Fair, on June 23rd. Aside from all the festival dates that you guys have coming up, what's the plans for Trixter going into the rest of 2016?
Well, we have just hopefully more shows, more festivals. We have a couple of one or two. We have a headlining show on June 17th in Salisbury, Massachusetts. Actually, Autograph is with us that night too. And then the 18th in Springfield, Mass. That's another festival. We have in Michigan, we have June 10th with Tom Kiefer and Firehouse in Saginaw, Michigan, and then June 11th we're headlining in right outside of Detroit, Chesterfield, Michigan. Diesel Lounge. Lounge is a great venue, and played there last year, and so looking forward to that. And good to stretch out. We do our own shows. We can play longer, and we're not watching the clock, and just kind of have a good time. I mean, all shows are a good time, but it's nice when you can just kind of stretch it out a little bit.
You guys prefer the doing the regular shows over the festivals?
Not necessarily. I think we're better as part of a package. Certainly, you get to play with all your friends and other bands. It's just a bigger show. It's a bigger crowd. The fans get more for their money. All the bands in our genre, we're all kind of better as a whole, as far as drawing wise. I mean, we all go out and do headlining shows, and like I said, they're great. They're a little bit few and far between because we do so many festivals together. But we appreciate those headlining shows because we can play longer, and so it's as much fun. But you know, we don't mind playing a half hour on festivals, or 45 minutes, whatever it is. We don't mind that because it's always a great time.
Well, I mean, either way, it'll be a great time. I know you guys never let the crowd down. Whether you're going to see Trixter on June 10th or at LaconiaFest on June 16th or wherever you see them, no, you will definitely get your money's worth from Trixter. PJ, how close are you guys, or have you guys even begun thinking about the follow-up to Human Era, or are you guys just taking it one day at a time with the touring?
Yeah, we're just, I mean, in the same respect that Human Era kind of came out of left field, we weren't talking about a new record until the label called us and asked us to do one, so we're in the same kind of pattern now. We're just, Human Era, is out just shy of a year now, so, we're still content with just doing the Human Era material, what little we do on most of our shows, but yeah, again, we're not opposed to it. It's not on our radar right now. It's really not something that we're actively working on.
Kind of a different animal nowadays compared to back in the 90s and early 90s, where you kind of had to bang out an album every year, year and a half.
There was a cycle. We're not on cycles anymore, and we're kind of on autopilot. And the fact that a band like us in our genre has put out 2 full-length, all-original records with the all-original members, 2 in the last 4 years, is amazing to begin with. But it's kind of like we're boxing ourselves out. And since we come out with another record, I mean, we could barely squeeze in material from our last 2 records into most of our shows now. So, I mean, we have a lot of material to choose from and not a lot of time to play it. And, obviously we're not stupid. We got to keep the set chock full of the stuff that, people are most familiar with.
Sure. Hey, it's always better to have more material to choose from than go out there and go, all right, we have to add stuff. We don't have enough to play. And that's always a great thing to hear from any band, no matter where they are in their career. PJ, I know you're busy. I want to thank you for taking the time out to talk to me here inside the ASYLUM. Remember, LaconiaFest, June 16th, and that's a whole week's worth of dates from the 11th through the 19th. Go check out that great week of music. I've got Human Era in front of me. I'll make sure I follow that up with something from your solo album. But is there anything off of Human Era, maybe a favorite of yours, that doesn't get enough time that you might want my listeners to hear?
Actually, the title track I think is one of my favorite because I think it tells kind of a story of us, and it's a really good, it's meaningful song for us. I mean, depending on what mood you're in, I mean, we got the whole gamut. We got Rockin' to the Edge of the Night, it's a party rock song, get you pumped up for the weekend. We got a song like For You, which is a lot of notes. Me and Steve were really kind of shredding on that. Then you got a song like Human Era, which is kind of just a standard rock song with a good story behind it.
Well, then let's do that. We'll crank out the title track of Trixter's latest album. This is Human Era. Stay tuned. More to come here inside the ASYLUM.